Welcome back to the News at 10. It's time to take you to Abuja, where Linda Kiwe is standing by with more on the News at 10.
Hello, Amarachi. The National Union of Air Transport Employees has staged a peaceful protest in Abuja over the proposed concession of 4 major airports by the federal government. In an interview with newsmen at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, the chairman of the union's Abuja chapter, Mr. Olarinwaju Popola, advised federal authorities to concentrate on reviving dormant airports and shelve its concession plans.
On the road to send a strong signal to Mr. President that our airports are no-go area. They are not for sale, they are not for family members, they are not for cohorts, they are not for contractors, they are not for anybody. It is our national heritage, and it is our collective responsibility to see to the growth of the airports. We are not stopping them outrightly from concession. Imagine a state like Niger having 2 airports. Imagine a state like Kaduna having 2 airports. Designated to be old and new airports. One is for Air Force, one is for commercial flight. Imagine an airport, a state like Benue, Makurdi, a dormant airport, designated to be Air Force airport. Imagine a place like Katsina, dormant airport. Before an airport can be created, we should talk about the viability of the airport. Are they telling us that these 4 airports cannot sustain Nigeria? Are they telling us Akure Airport can sustain itself, not to talk of Nigeria? This is our national heritage. This is another mainstay of federal government. This is another huge revenue we're going to be handing over to few private people.
In the same vein, the dust is yet to settle in Odi community in Bayelsa State over the alleged shooting of a casual worker identified as 32-year-old Justice Ikpama by a policeman attached to the Bioresources Development Center. Angry youths picketed the premises of the company, condemning the incident and calling on federal and state authorities to intervene. An eyewitness recounts that an argument between the police officer and Justice Ikpama allegedly resulted in the shooting. Meanwhile, security has since been beefed up at the company. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and Internally Displaced Persons, Professor Biyani Chaloka, has asked the Nigerian government to put in place a comprehensive and coordinated approach to address the problems of internally displaced persons in the Northeast. Professor Chaloka, who is meeting with members of the House Committee on Internally Displaced Persons and Northeast Initiative, advised federal authorities to formulate and implement a new policy to resolve the situation. The United Nations puts the number of internally displaced persons in Nigeria at 2.2 million. According to the Internal Displacement Monitoring Center, 2.152 million people are displaced in Nigeria, mostly from conflict in the northeast. To make matters worse, internally displaced persons in Nigeria live in harrowing conditions with a lack of basic infrastructure, starvation, poor health care and unsanitary conditions. This meeting between the House Committee on Internally Displaced Persons and representatives of the United Nations is examining how to address the challenges confronting internally displaced persons in Nigeria.
Wherever we go, we find that IDPs are marginalized. They need special attention, and therefore promoting IDP policies and legal frameworks becomes one way of having an effective response.
These committee members have visited some of the IDP camps in the Northeast. They know firsthand the deplorable conditions in the camps and the factors which led to these problems.
I also think there is inadequate appropriation. For instance, in this year's budget, the 2 agencies that are into both disaster preparedness and emergency assistance, as well as, the management protection needs as well as assistance, that is the National Commission for Refugees, have a combined budget of less than 3 billion naira. 3 billion naira, by my calculation, can only give lunch to IDPs for a week.
The federal government has put together several interventions to address the horrifying plight of internally displaced people in the country. But so far, these interventions are not enough, and these experts say until there is a comprehensive and coordinated approach backed by well-thought-out policy by government, is a tough future ahead for internally displaced persons. And staying with health issues, and even as the NCDC appeals for vigilance on the issue of Lassa fever, the World Health Organization warns that an epidemic looms in Borno State. The WHO says that there are urgent health problems that could lead to an outbreak of infectious diseases in 15 local government areas formerly held by Boko Haram insurgents in Borno State. The WHO also explains that some of the problems include acute malnutrition, measles, and environmental health challenges. According to the WHO, the rate of severe malnutrition is estimated to be 14%, and one of the local government areas where 2 polio cases are reported is still inaccessible to health workers. Now, health institutions across the country have been advised to maintain a high index of suspicion for Lassa fever and other viral hemorrhagic fevers. This follows the death in Anambra State of a medical doctor who was referred from a private hospital in Delta State. The management of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control says this new case of Lassa fever illustrates the importance of clinical protocols to confirm the cause of febrile illnesses. The NCDC puts the number of contacts who have been monitored for symptoms of Lassa fever in Delta State at 40, while 19 others are being monitored in Anambra State. And that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Linda. And it's time for business news. Here's Anne Mawudu.
You first. First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Commercial banks from all foreign exchange have been banned from all foreign exchange transactions and operations for hiding about $2.12 billion belonging to the NNPC. A source confirmed to Channels Television that President Muhammadu Buhari had been briefed on the matter and that sanctions will be imposed on the banks. They include 3 Tier 1 lenders and 6 Tier 2 deposit money banks. The lenders remain barred until they fully remit the money into the Treasury single account. The head of Global Shapers Community at the World Economic Forum, Mr. Yemi Babintini Ashaye, says a recent survey reveals corruption as a major concern for youths in about 180 countries around the world. In an interview with Channels Television, Mr. Ashaye says about 26,000 youths perceive corruption as a major impediment to their aspirations, and they want the government to address this challenge. The World Economic Forum on Monday released its 2016 Global Shapers Survey, outlining reactions from youths globally on issues of corruption, unemployment, climate change, and technology. The Naira appreciated against 3 major currencies at the interbank spot market today. The local unit rose by 1.15% to 305 Naira 18 kobo against the greenback, 1.43% to 415 Naira 26 kobo against the British pound, and 4.35% to 356 Naira 74 kobo against the euro. At the parallel market, the Naira fell by 0.25% to 397 Naira to the dollar, 0.39% to 512 against the British pound, and 0.68% to end at 445 against the euro. Traders have attributed this 2-day positive momentum to the sale of foreign currencies by the CBN to commercial lenders. Nigeria's stock market closed today's session flat but slightly negative on a mixture of profit-taking price and marginal losses from equities, as analysts are expecting mixed sentiments to continue within the last trading days in August. Let's now join Bolaji Akinwale for more.
and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Nigeria's equities market slipped by 0.01% at the close of Tuesday's trading session in response to a combination of price losses by mid-cap stocks and profit-taking by investors. However, the price table recorded a total of 26 gainers, led by Seplat, Photo Oil and Awema Bank, in contrast to losses from 16 equities led by Unity Bank, Academy Press and Continental Insurance. GT Bank, Fidelity Bank and FBN Holdings were the biggest patronage from investors, while a total of 102.24 million shares worth 2.9 billion naira were traded in 3,113 transactions. And that's it on the Stock Market Report. I am Bolaji Akinwale.
Thank you, Bolaji. Well, major global stock markets around the world ended today's session mostly positive. Let's see the figures now. And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. Back to you, Amarachi.
You first. First Bank.
Next on the news at 10, a court of arbitration for sport dismisses Russia's appeal against the ban of its athletes from next month's Paralympic Games in Rio. That's the sports news. Please join us again.